Prime Minister, your
about the economic...
Your scaremongering does not stop at the economy, does it? What comes first, World War III or the global Brexit recession?
The world is changing with accelerating speed.
To lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
We don't want a nuclear war! We don't want a counter war! We don't want a nuclear war! We don't want a counter war!
This week, U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter accused Russia of nuclear saber-rattling. He promised to counter what he described as Russian aggression by increasing military buildup through NATO's presence near Russia. NATO, a key aspect of U.S. security policy. Now, the Baltic Sea region is quickly becoming a friction point between Russia, NATO, and the U.S., with NATO military exercises underway and a lot of close encounters. I was joined earlier by James Carden, Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine. He started by telling me for what NATO is preparing.
It was recently announced that NATO is going to be sending in 4,000 troops to Lithuania and Poland as part of the European Reassurance Initiative. That's a $3.4 billion initiative designed ostensibly to reassure our NATO allies in light of what has been happening in eastern Ukraine. In addition to that, the United States has sent in the USS Donald Cook, which is a missile-class destroyer about 50 miles away from Kaliningrad. Now, Kaliningrad, a lot of Americans don't know, is a Russian port between Poland and Lithuania, and they have a major naval base there. And so the effect of these maneuvers by the United States and NATO has been to increase tension in the region.
So what exactly is the aggression that they're worried about? I mean, this is a lot of militarized presence that they're gearing up for.
Yeah, what they claim to be very worried about is a repeat of what has happened in eastern Ukraine.
The entire Europe must calm down in the knowledge that the Pentagon would do anything in order to protect Europe from Russia. On Monday, the Pentagon deployed a pair of F-22 fighter jets to southeast Romania in an effort to deter hypothetical Russian aircraft. The US Air Force aircraft arrived at the air base on the Black Sea, less than 400 kilometers away from the Russian military stronghold of Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula. The US Air Force has deployed F-15 Eagle air superiority fighter aircraft to Iceland and the Netherlands. Several NATO countries as well as non-members, such as Finland and Sweden, are sending planes to Estonia for the first massive Air Force exercise to feature civilian airport aimed at training for interception of aircraft losing contact inside Finnish airspace. The two-day exercise called Ramstein Alo 1 will kick off at the Estonia's Amare Air Force Base next Thursday. It will be involving warplanes and air crews from Belgium, Spain, and Poland, as well as non-NATO members such as Finland and Sweden.
This is an emergency broadcast. This is a direct message to the Department of Defense, all four branches of the military, active duty, service members, veterans, their families, state governments, local governments, and the media. We are going to display 100% irrevocable proof that there is a global move, not just here, but all over the world, to militarize police and to put standing armies on the streets to suppress the population and to carry out political operations.
It seems strange that at the same time when we have huge military drills, military hardware movement, and FEMA training in the US, in Europe we have 600 members of various European military forces recently conducted an exercise in the German North Rhine province ready to be deployed in the event of civil unrest or war. Why in the world Italy's streets would be patrolled by Chinese police? That shows a very strong message that Vatican will be partially protected by China during a major crisis. Finland Defense Minister Jussi Niinistö said Russia doesn't pose a threat to his country. But then why would Finnish government send a reminder to 900,000 soldiers to prepare for war with Russia? Because it's a mind game tactic used by the mainstream media. On top of that, additional 40 guided multiple launch rocket systems and warhead rockets worth $150 million sold to Finland, just in case NATO stockpiles military hardware in Norway.
So we have what are called pre-position gear, both in caves and on ships, and it allows forces from the United States to come out and fall in on gear that is already forward deployed versus bringing all that gear with us.
M1A1 tanks, amphibious assault vehicles, artillery, and logistics equipment support NATO allies.
So any gear that is already forward deployed both reduces cost and speeds up our ability to support operations in crisis. So we're able to fall in on gear that is basically ready to go and respond to whatever that crisis may be.
It always takes time to deploy forces to a certain area. When you have material, equipment, pre-positioned, you can fly in the personnel and you will be faster ready to conduct operations. So that's always an advantage to have that pre-position in stocks in Norway.
The equipment will support Exercise Cold Response 16 starting later this month.
We fit easily together when we are operating. The last 10-15 years we have been operating together in Afghanistan and other places. And when you move to Norway, you will always operate in 3 dimensions because we have a long coastline, we have land territory and the air.
President Obama is back at the White House this morning after a week in the Middle East and Europe. Air Force One touched down Monday evening at Joint Base Andrews outside Washington. We spoke with the president yesterday in Germany in a wide-ranging interview. He had just announced 250 more American troops will go to Syria. They will help in the fight against ISIS, also known as ISIL.
Us dismantling ISIL is a priority, and although we are not going to be sending ground troops in to fight, we are going to try to find out what works and then double down. And one of the things that's worked so far is us putting special forces in for training and advising of local forces, but also intelligence gathering.
Let me pivot to China. Your Secretary of Defense has been in the region. How aggressive do you see the action in the South China Sea? And do you worry that they will cross some line in which you'll have to respond more aggressively?
I've been consistent since I've been president in believing that a productive, candid relationship between the United States and China is vital not just to our 2 countries but to world peace and security. We're a lot better off with a China that feels confident.
It's not a zero-sum game.
It's not a zero-sum game. What is true, though, is that they have a tendency to view some of the immediate regional issues or disputes as a zero-sum game. So with respect to the South China Sea, rather than operate under international norms and rules, their attitude is we're the biggest kids around here and we're going to push aside the Philippines or the Vietnamese. But it doesn't mean that we're trying to act against China. We just want them to be partners with us. And where they break out of international rules and norms, we're going to hold them to account.
And what about North Korea, finally?
North Korea is a massive challenge. Our first priority is to protect